Audacity, dead noise, OBS, cancel. All right, and this should be able to start picking up both of our audio. So, how do you want to start this?
I have no idea. That's why I wanted to discuss with you, because it's just like, what are we even gonna say to start it off?
Yeah, I guess good way to start it off is just introducing ourselves, the name of the podcast, like what do we want to do with the podcast and all, and just in general. Name of the podcast, obviously, usual stuff.
All right,
All
let's
right,
see.
so you want to start? You want me to start? How you want to do this?
Uh, I mean, you could start, and then I'll kind of work my way into things.
All right, you're gonna work your way in. Okay, so yeah, okay, so like the way we're gonna do this is okay. Let me try to get warmed up and all. How you doing? All right. Hello, audience. Welcome to the podcast we're going to start calling the Discussion Production Podcast, or DPP, if you'd like to call it. My name is Kenneth. I'm your co-host here with our host over here. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Adam, and as Ken just mentioned, we're gonna be doing a Discord discussion podcast where we discuss all sorts of topics.
Yeah. It's basically just, shoot the shit and, kind of what it is.
Uh,
So, like, we've kind of, like, the discussion that we did, like, kind of talk about a little bit before was, like, basically that just, like, 2020 is just the wildest year.
Awful.
Yeah, like, this year, so many bad things have happened, and it's just, like, this year is something that just, like, needs to be talked about. Especially where we are now, it's just, this year is crazy. It's crazy. And yeah, that's kind of like what we're gonna talk about in the discussion today. Is just like this year in general, not like I know last time we really got together and talked in Discord, it was like mainly about the rioting and a little bit about the pandemic and like why people may be doing like some of the things they're doing during this time and all. But like, yeah, that's pretty much what we were discussing about like the last time, like before. This is like episode 1 of the podcast, so this is just us like doing like a casual, normal discussion, like as we do. But so want
right.
to get started?
Did you want to talk about chronologically like what
Uh,
happened in 2020, or
uh
are we just kind of jumping around
yeah. I think
to
it's
and
fine.
fro?
It's just, hey, man, there's so many different things happening. It's wild. So like we can just like jump around from like one section to another. It's okay by me. Up to you, really. You're the host.
All right, that's fine. We'll just do that then.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, uh, sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh no. Yeah, it's fine. Take your time. Take your time. You got it.
yeah. So, to get back to the discussion we were having earlier,
Yeah.
the raids that have been happening, you have basically summarized. People have been raiding stores and burning police's cars and all that because of police brutality, and there continues to be a Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
And you have a theory that not everyone included in these raids are there for the Black Lives Matter movement.
Well, yeah, like it's kind of obvious, with like a movement this big, not everybody is gonna be directly on board. Like, I feel like well, I'm not. It's not even that I feel like it's like I know that there are people who are just like in it to raid stores, like imagine you're looking back like a couple years later in the future, like we're all gonna grow up, like have kids and whatnot, like uh this year is gonna be in the history books. It has to be. There's just so much that has happened. But like you're telling your kids, it's like oh, like were you part of like the raids, the rioting? Like you're gonna like want to tell them something that like I was part of this. Like yeah, I stood up to the movement. Like I wanted to like be part of it. Like I'm not gonna say like everybody's like for the movement, but some of the people are in it for it because it's like it seems like this whole thing is a trend, like the raiding stores and like the ability for people like to profit off of that. It's just like, not everybody is in it for like the movement of civil rights. And I do feel like there are certain people who are just like in it for like the experience, like, oh, it's like, oh, like all of these like bad things are going on, so it's just like, I'm just gonna hop in on that as well. It's just like, that's kind of like my idea about it. It's like, it's basically like a trend, so it's just like people will hop onto it just because.
Well, right. Just because I've heard and seen on the news that people have been rolling at rating stars like Rolex,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really think that supports the movement really.
Yeah, like you're seeing like watch companies, clothing companies. Yeah, we were talking about this before. Like I work at a Walmart like retail store, obviously, and our store got raided. I went into work, but just like the other day, it didn't seem like too many things were like stolen or like taken away. A couple of the windows that were like bashed out, broken, and all that. But like bigger stores that like I saw like the video of the Target, obviously the T-Mobile, like these stores raided, cleaned out entirely.
Right. And I mean, that's the issue, right? The fact that many of these stores are very important to the customers that go in there and pay for it. It's essential, basically. That's the word I was looking for earlier. They're essential businesses, and yet they're getting raided and their items are stolen, and that sets everything back. And because of that, those customers can suffer for a movement. And me personally, I don't think that it's worth it to raid the stores. I think there are better ways to protest. Like I've seen some peaceful protests, and I agree with those. But I don't think raiding stores and burning down buildings, and I don't think that's the best choice right now.
Okay, so like it's weird because like it's like I keep saying that. So I was looking at like discussions online, like other people's like thoughts and like the way they see about it. They see it like go about,
Right,
and like more often than not, you say like this like vicious angry protest is better than something that would be peaceful, calm, and quiet, because like what's violent will get more attention. Like you get more eyes turning towards like what's violent. Like if it's like peaceful and calm, it's like it's easy to ignore, but like it's so violent and so many crazy things that are just like going on. It's really really hard to ignore because it's like the amount of things that are going on. It's just so vast. It's impossible to ignore. We're at the situation, like at the point of the situation where like the National Guard is here, like in states, to protect these businesses, and like the police as well. It's massive. In the media coverage on it is just ridiculous. But then
right.
it's good as well. It's getting the word around.
I mean, that is true, but I feel like it's hard to ignore a large crowd. So let's say a large crowd just stands in front of a Target or Walmart and just holds up signs.
Hmm.
That's kind of hard to ignore.
I know that's hard to ignore, but it's like eventually they'll get tired. Eventually they're gonna wave out. It's like the more violent it is, the more attention it'll get. That's the way I see it. Like as well as a couple other people. Like I've been looking around. Like I said, like I kind of agree with that statement where it has to be violent, but like I do agree with it, that it's like it is very violent. Like you see like cars burning down, the stores. Like if you've seen, if we were able to see like before and after versions of like pictures of like how these stores look before, it is ridiculous to like what actually happens to these stores. It's, oh man, it's crazy.
Right. And I mean, I do get that point. I don't know. I just feel like with this pandemic going on, there's already enough issues, and just destroying stores where people get supplies is not the best option, but to
Yeah,
each their own.
yeah.
And
I do
I'm
understand
I'm
that.
not against the Black Lives Matter movement, of course, just because I am from a minority and I know the feeling of being discriminated against. Like I was telling you the other day, um, when my cousin was walking down to the park, he was carrying a basketball and a police car just was following him around. And he told me like I wasn't really doing anything. I was just kind of walking, and he would just follow me. And I was like, police officers like that are the reason why many of the good police officers get a bad rap.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like, I like, I'm part of the notion that like there are bad cops, but like there are good cops. But it's just like it just seems that like there's so many more bad cops than there are good cops. Even though like I want to believe that's not true.
Right.
And me personally, I've never really like have like experienced like discrimination like with a cop. Like I don't think so. Like I've never noticed a cop car following him around, but like I have noticed like this like normal discrimination like being followed in the store. Like I'm black, obviously it happens, but I really do like wish things weren't that way.
And I mean, I guess in that sense, it's good that all of this is happening because it brings forward the attention to discrimination. But like I said, I feel like it could be handled better.
Yeah, like exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it brings attention towards what's going on in society and like why people want to change it. Like I saw a video about like one of the protesters, like this black man, and he was talking about how he like after this he wants to feel like the cops are also there to protect him when he goes out to go and do something. It's like he wants to be able to walk through like a white neighborhood and feel safe, just like the same way white people in a white neighborhood would feel like. He doesn't want to walk through a white neighborhood and feel like the police are going to shoot him for no reason just because he's black and he's walking through. It doesn't make sense. It's just that's the discrimination that we fear in society, us as minorities. Like you're Mexican, I'm black, and I'm pretty sure we both experienced situations like that, but yeah, like that's how it is.
Yeah, and for a time, I really thought that we were better than how we were years ago when discrimination was still around. But I guess um, the past is due to repeat itself if we don't learn from it, right?
Yeah. And like that's the crazy thing. It's just like I do it's weird to say this, like I kinda do like want to have like a straight on like discussion with somebody who like who's racist. Like I've heard like some of their justifications and like reasons and like arguments of like um some will say that they think white people are for some reason genetically superior than every other race there is. That
Right,
argument has never made any sense to me because in reality all we have like that's different from one another it's our skin color and that's it.
I
Genetics
mean,
are basically I know genetics are like do play a role in like some parts, but like to think that you're genetically superior than others just because your skin color doesn't make any sense to me. I've never understood that argument personally, but yeah.
right. I mean, I've always had that thought process of regardless of what skin color we are, regardless of what we do, all of us are gonna end up in the same hole at the end of it all, you know?
Yeah.
We're all gonna pass on, so what difference does it make if we have different opinions or different skin colors?
Yeah. See? Like I don't understand a lot of their justification behind their actions or why they do these things. It's just yeah. To me it's like I'd really like to understand to get to reasoning and like understand why they believe what they believe, but that's just how they are.
Right. And if any of you listeners want to help support the Black Lives Matter movement, we'll leave some links to places you could donate and how you could help support the Black Lives Matter movement down below. But moving on to the pandemic that started this year, where to even start?
Oh man, that was
Like,
such a wild ride. Oh man. It
I
started
guess
around like spring break.
well, I heard it was around since October, I want to say.
I think
But
before
yeah,
that. Because we went on spring break, we got an extension to spring break, and that's when they were like, okay, classes are extended. Like they're like, okay, one extra week for spring break, and then after that, it's like, oh no, like this is not something that's gonna end over in like just a couple of weeks. It's like, here you guys go. online classes. We're setting everything up. We got things ready. Let's go.
right? And unfortunately, the US has not had the greatest response to this virus.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, our cases spiked up more than the other like surrounding countries around us. It didn't make sense to me at first.
Right. But I mean, now it does make sense just because the president did not really take action quickly enough. I mean, now he's providing testing and all of that, but I feel like he was a bit slow to respond. And because of that, we've had spikes of cases relatively compared to other countries around.
Yeah, like I know like right now we're like kind of talking about the beginning, but like the aftermath, it's just like the rioting and everything started right when we thought the pandemic was starting to close off, ended up, but like even then there was already speculation of people saying like this is not over. There's gonna be a second wave no matter what happens. This is gonna spike right back up, and people were rushing to get outside, and it's gonna like restart all over, restart the process all over again.
Right, and I do agree with that just because there has been evidence of it happening with other viruses.
Hmm.
And I feel like when this whole thing is done over with, that we prepare for the second wave of everything.
Yeah, yeah. Like, if anything, I'd like for us to avoid a second wave, but I just feel like that's not gonna happen because you saw what was going on. Like right before like the protests and rioting, people were tired of being inside. The weather was nice. It was really warm out here in Chicago. The weather it was looking really good, and everyone's like, okay, why are we inside? People started protesting to not stay inside. They just started going outside, started flooding the beaches, not worrying about the issue anymore. And then now we're in the situation with the rioting, and everyone's ignoring like the social distancing, and this like feels like okay, this is gonna be the rise of cases again.
Right? I mean, that's the bad thing, right? People don't really listen, and in that case, I've been lucky enough to have a job through this whole thing, but I know other people, like some of my members in my household, they are practically bored out of their minds just because school has been over for a while, and they don't really have anything to do. We go out sometimes, but there's not really much to do. And barely when things were starting to open up is when all the raids started happening, so I don't know.
Yeah, like I do get that. Staying inside watching like Netflix for like hours upon hours all day does get boring eventually, but like I know like that's what we need to do. Personally, it started making me like in a weird way excited to go to work because sitting inside, I know sitting
Oh yeah.
inside and like playing games is fun and all, but if you're doing that like every single day, that's when it starts to get boring and you're just like, okay, man, like I need to go
I
out and do
talked
something.
to I talked to many of my coworkers, and all of them were like, I really like going to work just because my parents drive me mad and I cannot stay inside that house all day without arguing with them at least once.
Yeah, yeah. Like I for me, it wasn't even like a matter of like nobody in my family was annoying me or anything. It was just that like I start to get bored after you. Like I can't sit around and play games for like 7, 8 hours a day. It's just like I have to get up and start moving my body and doing something, even if it means going to work. Initially I shouldn't actually during this entire thing I shouldn't be working because I have asthma, and luckily I've
Right.
not gotten the virus or anything, and I'm still alive for now, and I hope that lasts because yeah, the situation like it is bad.
Right. And then this is coming from introverts, mind you.
Oh
We
yeah,
are
yeah,
both
yeah.
introverts, but we are still very annoyed and would not want to stay at home for like maximum a week.
Yeah, yeah. Like I do manage because like I'm always just about every day like I guess the thing that really helped me keep my sanity was always playing like games with like my friends like here in Chicago. It's just like playing games. We hop into Discord calls like for like we're here for like hours a day, and next thing we know, it's like 1, 2 a.m. And like it's like we were able to manage because like we're just playing games. This is like normal to us. It's just we've been. It's like we get more time to do it, because like we're getting obviously less hours, no more work. We get to stay home. We're all in calls, having a good time, laughing, chatting. So like yeah, for us it's like it really wasn't isn't a change. It's almost it was kind of like in a weird way a benefit. We get to spend more time together, like as friends, like on calls, having a good time. You know.
Right. And then we are already used to ordering from stuff like Uber Eats.
Oh man.
So the transition was pretty easy for us.
Yeah, yeah,
But I do understand other people that may be extroverted.
yeah. I could not imagine.
This is dreadful, especially if they don't work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're an extrovert, like you need to be around people other than like your family for like obviously like 20 hours a day. Man, I feel bad for all of you extroverts out there.
Definitely. This is a very introverted pandemic, if you will. And I mean, I guess that's why we see people ignoring these social distancing guidelines, right?
Hmm.
Just because they cannot stand being inside. Like even when they started implementing everything, I would go to the park and be like, there were not this many people before the pandemic, but now it's just filled with people, just because they are all of them are just annoyed at being home all day.
Yeah, the crazy thing is like even like my friends and I we were talking about we were calling it we're like summer's canceled. It's like last summer we went on a trip. We got to go to like Cedar Point, have a good time, go on roller coasters, go to amusement park, spend a lot of money. And then like this summer we didn't plan anything because we were just like everything's gonna be canceled. But it's like the weather is so nice out. There's so many things we could be doing, but all the stuff that's going on now is just like okay, I still gotta stay inside. I still can't do anything, and that's the crazy part about it.
And speaking of things being canceled, 2020 graduates,
Oh
I am
damn!
so sorry for you.
Oh damn! Oh yeah,
Just
yeah,
the fact that you were so close to graduating and everything, and then the school's like, surprise, you're moving everything to online. Oh, and by the way, you're not having a graduation ceremony.
yeah. Can we talk about like online classes just like briefly because man, I got some stuff to say about that.
Sure.
When I started taking online classes, I stopped learning everything entirely. Let's be honest. Everyone who took online classes, you probably Googled everything. And like those are the answers you get free grades. It's easy A. But for me initially, since I'm not learning anything, I was like for my quizzes, because I was taking chemistry and biology at the time, my quizzes, my scores were lower than ever. Like I needed to be in person to take these quizzes because online just doesn't work for me personally. And I didn't learn anything after spring break during the entire online class session thing. I stopped learning entirely. I'm gonna be honest
I
because
know, and
yeah.
yeah, and me personally, my grades also slipped when all this happened, and I'm sure many others had similar experiences. But for me, it was more the fact that I could procrastinate more, and I ended up procrastinating way more than I should have.
Yeah.
And when I was going in person, I wouldn't procrastinate because I was like, okay, well, I have to work at this time, so I have to get my homework done before this time, and then I gotta get done before class. And when all that was happening, I had straight A's, but then my grades started slipping because I was like, well, I have more time. They're not giving me that many hours at work.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. I mean, at the end of the day, I did end up passing my classes, but still, it was a struggle to actually finish all the work.
Yeah. I get that because man, I saw like so many like I don't know if they're like just memes, but like so many people showing that teachers were just slamming them with so many assignments that like they just couldn't keep up, and so many people who were taking online classes they just gave up on it because it was just that bad. These teachers don't I think a lot of people are saying teachers' justification was like, oh, since you don't need to travel here or anything, you got more time. You're just sitting around at home anyway. So like, here's a bunch of assignments. I feel bad for anyone who had a teacher like that doing things like that. It's just man,
Not to mention all those Zoom meeting calls that everyone had to do.
bro. I hated Zoom so much. I'm not gonna lie, Zoom sucked.
I mean, I know a lot of people would agree with you. just because it's just like the teachers aren't really technically savvy, so sometimes you would have to help them out with the Zoom call.
Yeah, this is like college
And
professors we're talking here too. It's just like I'm not gonna like oh wow you guys supposed to be super smart, but yeah, it's true. Like my teachers, they did not really know how to operate things.
you even saw the memes of like students saying like, "Oh, click these three buttons, and then it'll make the audio go up, and then it just closes their window."
Oh, yeah, like we did have a couple of sessions where like our teacher like her Wi-Fi wasn't acting properly, and she just disconnected from the call entirely, and we're like, oh, what do we do now? And it'd be about like 10 minutes of like silence or like us just like talking amongst ourselves.
Yeah, and that's why I'm hoping that come August there are in-person classes. Just because I know for my cause specifically, no in-person classes will be offered. It's online only.
Yeah, I heard like fall semester, it's most likely gonna be online classes as well.
But I mean, how would that affect those still not in college? Because teachers have come to like expect students to actually be in class, and now they're going to have to transfer all those lessons onto an online format, which with some subjects won't be easy.
Yeah, like we had that problem with like imagine trying to do chemistry labs on a computer. It's just it's not the same experience. You don't get the real feeling of mixing the chemicals together, learning like what works and what doesn't. Like cuz we were doing like acid base reactions and so many other things. And it's like titrations, the metal plating of like all these different things and not doing it in person like like affected the experience because it's almost like okay, this is not what I paid for. I paid for an actual experience. We did get like an understanding, but it wasn't the same. You can't teach biology and chemistry in an online format. It just doesn't work properly. You need to be there to look at the slides of like for like I'm talking about biology here, to look at slides of like cells and to actually get the real experience for yourself. It's not the same just looking at somebody else do it on a video. You need to actually be there physically and measure out the measurements for chemistry and biology to look at the cells, look at different parts, see the living cells, see them moving around. Like the experience actually matters being there in person.
Right. And in that case, I know a lot of people are hands-on learners,
Mm-hmm.
and having to learn everything online is difficult for them.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's how it was for me. Like, I am much more of a hands-on learner. I need to be there to actually get the education and the smarts. Because, like I said online, like, there's so much information available on the internet. It's all there. You can't expect students like to not cheat. Like, who's gonna be honorable? Let's be honest. Unless you're locking their computer and looking at their screen the entire time, they're gonna be cheating. Because I'm pretty sure as soon as we went on like to online classes, certain people whose scores were a lot lower in person were gonna get a lot higher when they're online.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say that was me, but definitely if I was in middle school or high school, that would definitely be me.
Oh yeah,
Just because I didn't try very hard
oh yeah, like
during years.
yeah. I don't fault them because it's like it's school. Like it's like I don't want to do this. I just like want to get like my homework done so I can play games with my friend. Like if that's like the mentality of a high school. Like if I'm a college student, I just want to get this done so I can do something else. Like if I got to work in an hour and like I got like a bunch of homework assignments, of course I'm gonna just like okay, look it up. It's easier. It's more like it's all there on the internet. You're gonna find it eventually. It might take a while for some things, but you know.
Right. And like even my brother didn't have to take like a final exam. He just had to do like assignments.
Hmm.
And I was like, I wish I had that luxury when I was in middle school and high school.
Yeah, and yeah, it does also tie into the thing where like teachers don't know how to move things over to an online format. It just for them it's gonna be confusing, of course.
But yes, 2020, I am sorry for you, but I'm glad some companies are offering you benefits. Like I know Domino's and Krispy Kreme and all that, they were giving out free stuff
Oh, really?
for all those 2020 grads. Yeah,
Really?
at least over
Okay.
here in Vegas.
Yeah, I wasn't even like seeing that stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I know it still sucks, not knowing when you'll have your graduation ceremony. But I'm glad to see some people took it into their own hands and had their own like graduating ceremony or had their own prom or whatever else.
Hmm.
So stay strong, class of 2020.
Yeah, yeah. I do feel bad for him. Like, for like a lot of people, that graduation experience, like walking across the stage, like all these years of working and like all that hard work, I'm done with it until I go to college, of course. But then it's just like, man, all those years it's worth it to walk up, get your degree, and like feel that like wave of relief. Like, man, I'm done. Time to go to the after party. Let's get drunk, have some fun. We did it. Like we went through all these years, all the pain and suffering. It's done for now until I go to college. But man, I do feel bad about like the people who really didn't get to graduate in high school and all that. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, I feel
They
bad.
didn't get to flip off the school as they left, so
Yeah, man. Like
I know I did that.
you did really?
I didn't like my school, man.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm not gonna say it wasn't important to me. Like it was important getting my degree, but for me, it's just when I got my degree, walked across the stage, left. My family was there. I didn't even like talk to any of them. They got mad when I got home because like me and my friends, we just went out to go eat like Chinese food. It's like, okay, we did it, boys. Let's go eat. We're done. And my family was furious because like I didn't take pictures for my graduation and everything, and I was like, okay, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I do hope that teachers are able to move everything online.
Yeah.
In my view, I think if things get better by August, there will be an option to do either online or in person, and that will kind of split everything in half, I guess.
Yeah, I think like
That's what I'm hoping for.
it's almost kind of like a testing phase where it's like, okay, like let's get a small group of people who actually want to try it out, go in person. If like we realize like, okay, that's safe, then we can start moving things back over to being like in person instead of trying to do online and all the other stuff.
Right. And I feel like it's going to take a while for us to just adjust back to what we know is normal because after this whole pandemic is over, hopefully it's over. But I think that when we're in a social area, we'll still be very cautious about everything just because we never know.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Just because now I really do not want to be so close to people like on the sidewalk or whatever. I kind of just want to stay on my side and that's it.
Yeah, like I was talking to like an older person at work, cause like a lot of older people who would probably have compromised immune systems, they still like go to work at Walmart, like at the well, at least the store that I work in, and like one lady she was talking to me about like how she hopes going forward people realize that our health is a very important thing and to realize like we need to like keep this up and be better because if our health wasn't so bad, she said like oh things like it wouldn't be spreading as quickly as it did and all, but that is a matter of like just how contagious this virus actually is because this thing was spreading like wildfire, like cases like one case after another, like bam bam bam, it was insane.
Right. And I think the initial reaction wasn't great by customers either. Just because I worked at an Albertsons when this whole thing was going on.
Hmm.
I recently quit, luckily, but when I was still working there, I would see customers get mad at the cashiers for saying they can't put the items on the belt like right as they get there because social distancing,
Yeah.
or the fact that they would get like 6 cases of water like every single time they went in, and that didn't leave any water for anyone else.
Yeah, eventually at my Walmart, they just started limiting the amount of things. Like you can only get a certain amount of toilet paper and a certain like amount of cases of water and stuff. Or not even like cases. It was like water items. Like you couldn't get like jugs and then like cases. It was just like limiting what you can do with like how much you can spend. Well, how much of like a certain type of item you can get.
Hand sanitizer basically became liquid gold.
Oh yeah, too. I went over to the section, like the hand sanitizer section in the store, like invisible. It's gone. It's almost as if it didn't exist because we got wiped clean so quickly. It was ridiculous.
And then people started buying like rubbing alcohol and then making their own sanitizer. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, like I think that was the next go. I came in like the next day, like, oh, we don't have rubbing alcohol, any of it, like not the wintergreen green kind. It's like okay, and nobody ever buys that.
Right. And then same thing with bleach basically too. And I was like, seriously?
Yeah,
Is this how it's gonna go down?
I sent you a picture of like what our shelves look like, empty. Some couple like they walked up to me. It was like during the whole beginning of this thing, and I was like, they're like, oh, like, oh, do you guys have any bleach? I checked the bag, empty. Just like an entire like quarter of an aisle straight down, empty. Just where the bleach is supposed to be, it's gone.
Right. And I was like, dang, maybe like everything's gonna start being in demand and there's not gonna be any food left and everything else. In some cases, that was kind of true, but not to the extent that I thought it would.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, you could still walk into the store and get a few things. It's just you couldn't get it in bulk, you know?
Yeah, yeah, like we are talking about like the beginning, like in the situation where things are now, like at my Walmart, you can't even walk into the store if you don't wear a mask. If you're not wearing a mask, they will deny you entry. You cannot get in, even still.
Yeah, see, my store didn't do that, but maybe it was because it didn't really care
Yeah,
about any of that.
yeah,
So, you know, I guess good for your store for actually doing that.
yeah. I think like it was
I don't
just
know.
it might have also been like Illinois like implementing like certain like rules of like things you needed to do if you like wanted to like leave the house.
Yeah, and I mean, and I was kind of annoyed at first of all the little small rules, but then it's like, well, it is for health and safety.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah,
So,
you start to understand why.
right. Because it was like, oh, well, you can't use reusable cups anymore and stuff like that. And I was like, what? That's like, that's the main thing I do. I use reusable cups so I don't have to buy waters.
Yeah.
And then my store supplied like a few waters in the fridge for like all the employees for like a week. And then after that, they just stopped.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like
I hope you viewers, if you do work at a store, that your store is better than mine was. But who knows? Maybe it's worse.
yeah, like we are kind of like talking in the past because like now we're at like the rioting phase. For me, when I went into work yesterday, we weren't open. I just went there to clean. It like the store's not open to customers. We're just there to clean the store and make it look good because obviously like corporates coming in the next day to see how things are, the damages from the rioters and whatnot. I think well we're gonna do like a soft open tomorrow, and I actually worked that
So,
day where it's like we only have one entrance open, and I think even then it's still like a limited capacity of customers that can be at the store at once.
yeah, and then back when I was still working there, they were starting to not limit the amount of customers that were coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened at your store, but with mine, I'm guessing everything's gonna go back to limiting customers if they do end up rioting and breaking into the store.
Yeah. Oh man, I hope not. I wasn't there the day of the riot, but I heard like the employees they were all in the back of the room, and when they just like I don't know if they heard like shots fired. That's what I was texted. I don't know if that actually meant like someone shot like fired or like shooting or anything. But like once they heard something, they all bailed out of the store and they left immediately.
Right, and then that was hard to do, I'd imagine, because I think you mentioned that the parking lot was very full.
Yeah, from what I heard, because like I didn't leave the house that day because like if I tried to leave my house, my grandparents would kill me before I can even get to a protest or anything. So yeah, but
Right,
yeah,
and
I heard that day that our Walmart got rioted. Two others got rioted, and a Burlington coat factory got burned down. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. I haven't looked it up or anything, but I heard, yeah, they wanted it was going crazy, and like downtown Chicago is that's where it really started. It was the night before that where I think it was a Macy's and a Rolex store that got raided, and that's when it kind of started over here in Illinois. Obviously, everything was happening over in Minneapolis, and then things just spiraled down to other states. I saw videos of like what was going down in Los Angeles, cars burning, cops running over people. It's just so much stuff, like crazy things are happening right now.
Right, and then in Las Vegas, there have been like a few protesters around like the Las Vegas Boulevard, I believe.
Hmm.
And well, since a lot of my family members work in casinos, they're worried that when everything opens up and they go back to work, those casinos are gonna get raided and burned and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I see. I don't see companies opening now. I see like things going gradually and very very slowly, where like they'll wait for like the riots and things to start dying down, because okay. But okay, let's just get this part over with here. You saw the video, didn't you?
Which one?
The video of George Floyd being choked, and you saw the video, didn't you?
Suffocated?
So
Yeah.
yeah, suffocated. Not choked. My bad. Yeah, suffocated. Where he has his knee. Like that was a gruesome video. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard for me to watch.
Right.
And well, I'm starting to lose my point here. Um, we both saw the video. Wait, give me a minute. Damn, I had my point. Um,
Did you want to move on to another topic and then we could come back to it once you remember your point?
yeah, you might want to.
Okay. So I don't know if you felt anything, but around, I want to say like half an hour ago, maybe an hour ago, I felt an earthquake. And I don't know if you felt one, but I did.
Oh yeah, I'm all the way in Illinois,
And
so like I didn't feel anything.
right, but I did. I guess I looked it up, and apparently there was one in California recently
Really?
that happened like very recently. And then it's just like, man, I was telling you the other day, it's just like all we need is like some natural disaster, and then here we are,
Yeah, it's like all like
earthquake.
yeah, just another thing to like fuck up society. It's like you thought this was the end. Like it's crazy because at the beginning of the year, everybody was just like, okay, like to like 2010 between like 2020, like that's the end of a decade. Everyone was like reminiscing about old memories, memes, and everyone's like, oh man, so it was such a good decade. And I remember everything from my childhood, all these memories, and then 2020, it's gonna be a new decade, the beginning of a new decade. Everything's gonna change. A brighter future is ahead of us, and then wasn't it like first the Australian fires, and then it just like then Corona, now we're in raids, and it's just spiraling down.
And then God knows what's ever next.
Yeah, like I've already rated this year as like one of like the worst years I've
And we
lived in
said
my
that,
life.
and we said that in 2019. We said that in 2018.
Yeah, I do. I
We said
remember.
it years before.
Yeah, like it's like year after year. It's like okay, dude, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It has to get better, right? It's gonna get better, please. And then it's just it spirals down so hard. It's crazy.
Right. So it's just like, who knows what's gonna happen, but I hope that a lot of us Americans and the world alike, we stand like next to each other, whatever, to combat whatever the heck is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because during this COVID crisis, I felt like people weren't really divided. We were all focusing on staying alive.
Hmm.
So, who knows? I hope that continues to be the case, but you never know.
Yeah, like that is another crazy thing about history where it's like it only takes well no, it's like it's almost as if it has to be something tragic for us as a people to come together. It's like during situations like 9/11 and like so many like bad parts of history. It's like these bad parts of history things have to happen for people to realize like, oh my god, everybody's just human. And like it's like we something bad needs to happen for everyone to wake up and realize that we need to come together like as a society because we're all just people at the end of the day.
right? And that's not to get all sappy and all that. I know that sounds very stereotypical, but I mean, it is true that we need to work together more,
Yeah, like I really
especially in situations like this.
yeah I really like I wish that like it didn't take the death of an innocent man who wasn't doing anything. I really wish it like that's not what it had to take for people to come together and like really fight for civil rights and like we've known for years and years and years and years that America is like a very very racist country, and now like that like someone has died, and like we see black people die on like on the news. Very very tragic. Tragic. We see so many people like die every day, and then like it's just like why does it have to take people dying to stand up for like what's right? And like it's always like bad situations for people to
I
make a
mean, that's
change.
the same for anything, right? Any bad thing that happens,
Yeah.
people are united, and we say, let's not talk about the politics and the racism and everything, but we never end up talking about it. So
Yeah. It's like
I don't know how many times, I don't know how long it's gonna take for us to finally sit down after everything is settled and fix things, but I hope it's soon.
yeah, like it's crazy. And it's really sad like I was listening like I said I was listening to discussions, other podcasts, and people talking. It's like people were saying like they don't want this to be another thing just skirted under the rug. It's not like okay, uh oh my gosh, I'm getting real messed up.
All
It's
the shootings?
no. The month we're in June, right?
Yes.
Yeah, March. So like it's like people don't want it to be like okay, George Floyd died in March. Wait, June, July, March. Wait, March, April, May. Wait.
Late March?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm getting my like months messed up. Give me a sec. People don't want it to be
You're
that
fine.
like George Floyd died in March. Okay, and now it's June. What's the like next thing? It's like
Right.
it's this is like a horrible situation. Like it's like yeah, George Floyd died, but like now like we need change. It's not something just to skirt on the rug. It's like okay, George Floyd died, and like let's move on to the next thing. Like no, this is like a very serious issue. Civil rights has always been an issue, but like it's like now we're bringing attention to it in like the racism in America and all these horrible situations. It's just like now we need to like turn towards it and face it instead of ignoring it and just acting like none of this happened.
And I mean, I don't know what could be done, but I hope some of the politicians know, or some of the um, how do I put this?
Higher ups.
People in power, I hope they do something to at least help with the situation.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, I guess we'll see how this whole thing ends up, just because we are still living with all these protests.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, we're still living with the process. Like this is like something that like just started about like what like last week or
Something like that,
yeah
yeah.
around that time like the protests have like just started. And have you seen like the controversy for like what was happening with like Nickelodeon as well?
No.
Like Nickelodeon for the exact amount of time that George Floyd was being suffocated, they played just the words "I can't breathe" on their platform, and there were people getting mad about that controversy, obviously, because that's what's gonna happen. That's what people are gonna talk about, and like people were
Right.
getting mad that like Nickelodeon did the simple thing.
And in that case, they should have done what people are doing now, which is just not post anything on social media or post at all.
Yeah, did you see like the whole Blackout Tuesday thing?
Yes.
Yeah, like, yeah, oof. Oh man.
And I guess they didn't know what was gonna happen, but I mean, I feel like that's what they should do now is at least for one day just not not have their shows running or anything. And I
Yeah,
know that's easier to do in an online platform, but I mean it can be done.
yeah, just like to black out everything. Like this is a really really big movement, and I really do hope it brings about some change in our society. I don't want this to be skirted under the rug. Like we really do need change in America, because like to say that like everybody's equal in America, and like to say that like privilege is not a thing, it's just not true.
And not only that, but I think that we also need change in terms of the US responding better to any pandemic or any terrorist attack or any issue going on.
Yeah, like
Whether that means we have to vote in new people or whether that means that we have to protest to our politicians to get some form of change. I don't know.
yeah,
I can't say I know everything about politics. I just think that there needs to be some political change.
yeah, like
Maybe that means leaving the Democrat and Republic sides to a different date and just all as one nation focus on what we can do to help with any pandemic or problem that we're having.
yeah, like I do see a lot of people on social media like saying like if you do really really like want change, then like what you need to do is go out and vote for somebody who supports your views and the things that like supports the things that you want, like to support the change that you want to see in the world. Like that's who we need to elect.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say that we can do it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we should start closing up just because it's almost an hour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you have any did you have any closing comments or questions or anything?
I if I did want to like close off on anything, I would say that like to tell like any listeners out there like I don't expect this like podcast to get too much attention. Like we're just now starting out, but we are focusing like
Right.
on a hot topic. But like to anyone who is listening out there who's actually like still listening to the podcast, first of all, thank you. And I just want you to realize like hopefully in that like there will be, I have faith, and like I believe that there will be some light at the end of the tunnel. Like I do think that by the end of this year and like the next coming years that there will be a change about in America. I know the situation and everything about society is looking really, really bad right now, but we just need to like look forward and just keep doing what we're doing. Like I'm talking about like the I'm talking about like the whole civil rights movement and like everybody pushing towards change. Like I do feel like what we're doing right now in the moment will make a difference, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. The year has been pretty bad for now, but I do have hope that it will get better. And that's my closing statement. Like that's what I would have to say. And like just don't give up. And I know things look very very bleak right now, but it'll get better.
Right. And I guess my final closing comment would be as you said, there is going to be change and we just have to look towards that light at the end of the tunnel. And who knows, maybe someday we could look back on it and be like, we made it. If we can make it through that, we can make it through anything.
Yeah. Okay, and
But
oh yeah, yeah. Finish what you gotta
no,
say.
go ahead.
Okay, you done?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing I do have to state is that like I don't want people to come into this thinking that we're like a political podcast or anything like that. It's just that like
No.
yeah. See, like if anything, like we're just two guys. Like we talk about video games, having fun and stuff like that. But like right now, we're just talking about like the current issue at hand, and just like what's going on in society right now. Like I don't know if like people can tell like by the way I've been talking or anything. I am not very political. Like I don't know too much about politics and all that. But like this is just the given issue at hand and like how I feel about the issue and like hopefully you express how you feel about the issue and all. And yeah, we're not exactly a political podcast. We're just like talking about stuff. Like we're having a discussion production podcast. It's just like what we do. We're just having a discussion at this point.
Right, and I think we've made it blatantly obvious we're not into politics just because, I mean, we see a lot of and
Oh yeah, well,
you know,
yeah. Well, that's because you're beginners. I think I said like about like 50 times during this
yeah,
entire thing, man.
yeah. But I mean, when it comes to other things, if there's like a video about a puppy carrying a basket of flowers to some random person, we'll talk about it on the show. But for now, we just felt like we needed to talk about this issue at hand.
Yeah, it's funny because this is like our pilot episode, and we're like talking about like how bad of a year it's been. So, what a great start.
Yeah, real bummer of an episode, but
Yeah,
I
like,
promise things will be more lighthearted as things go on.
yeah. Well, hopefully, if we do continue going on with the podcast and all, but hey, thank you guys for listening and all, and I'll let you close it out if you'd like.
If any sponsors out there are trying to sponsor us, we'd be willing to do an entire episode on that. We're not immune to selling out to buyers. No, I'm just kidding, but seriously, I hope all of you have a good rest of your day, and thank you for listening.
This episode is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. I'm kidding. All right, thank you guys all for watching, and this is the end of the podcast, and bye-bye.
Bye.